living my version of the American dream. It is possible to live the way I do here. It'd be very difficult to do that in Europe.
I think there's people who are just like super on board with electric, and there's people who are just like super on board with gas. And it's so interesting that it's like so politicized.
Yeah.
Have you ever ran into a situation where you're like, I might be in trouble here?
Yeah, but it's not actually with the car.
Sandro,
Yeah.
Everyday Sandro, welcome to In My Elements.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
What do you think?
I love it. You've talked about this khaki car for a while. I've never seen it in person. So it's like, it's cool to see it.
Yeah, it's cool. It's like, it's been a dream of mine to do this exact setup with the dual swivel seats, and it's finally come to life. You're the first guest, and there's no one else.
Really? In
Well,
this one?
in this setup, yes.
Oh, sick.
So there's no one in the world I would like more than you to be here for
Oh,
that.
that's true. The other podcast has been with the other element.
Well, one of them was with this one, but not with a full like dual swivel setup.
Cool.
So yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So today we're here with Everyday Sandro, and he's a YouTuber who lives out of his Tesla Model X. He's gone on some absolutely insane adventures to the Arctic. He's lived in 3 different continents, and now you're on your way to Argentina. Is that correct?
Central and South, yeah.
Wow. And you're here in North America, California right now. Yeah. And you're doing all of that in your Tesla Model X.
Beluga.
There's so much that I have to ask you, so I'm just really pumped. So thank you so much for being here, man. I really appreciate it. So why don't we start with why you decided to start your YouTube channel, Everyday Sandro?
Yeah, so back in the day during COVID, I was living in the Netherlands, and I was really curious about finance. So I started a finance channel originally, right? Like a crypto, Bitcoin, Ethereum. I would like do like a deep dive, like price predictions and stuff. And then obviously those things collapsed. So I pulled all those videos off. So I just had an empty channel, but then I bought a Tesla Model 3 at that time. And I was like, well, I can travel. I kind of want to have like a digital diary for myself, and we'll see where this goes. And then I started to learn more about YouTube and the community, and 2.5 years down the road, I ended up living in a Model X now. So a lot has changed since I started, but initially it was to start like with crypto, and now it's just a Tesla sustainability channel, pushing boundaries and living out of it, and just showcasing what the car can do, and just being myself on the road.
Yeah. So, but why a life on the road? It's like there's so many other options that you could have done to like travel. Why decide? And even in Model X, like you could do like a Sprinter van for the same price. Truly, you could do it in a Sprinter van or something like that. So specifically, why the Model X?
That's a good question. So I really like tech. I'm kind of a tech junkie. The software, it's also really new, right, to drive. The full self-driving, the car can drive itself, the camping mode, and honestly, like maintaining an EV, like yes, it's a high upfront cost, but there's relatively zero to no maintenance on it. For that price, I could buy a Sprinter, build it out myself, but I think Sprinters are kind of bulky, and it's kind of the ideal picture, and I wanted to do something different and something that fits with me. And I like to kind of live out of my car. Like, yes, I spend a lot of time in it, but I like to seek the adventure out of the car, right? The car is kind of a means, a tool to get me point A to point B. And yeah, so I could have bought a Sprinter or like a Dodge Ram van or like a Ford, but just wanted to have some compact that I could take places, and yeah.
We were talking last night. We were texting, and you said you're like sleeping at a charging station, which is a good plus for if like you're doing this like travel stuff. But then you said like you're charging for free.
Okay, so last night, so 99% of my charging is free. Last night it did charge me, so it was $18 to charge overnight. But that's pretty much a full tank of gas, and then that's gonna bring me to San Diego and then beyond where I'm going. I decided, I initially thought it was free, but then ended up charging my credit card. But that's okay, because like I can afford, as crazy as it sounds, I can afford to travel the way I do because I drive electric. Right. And yeah, last night, but it's okay. One more thing about sleeping at the charger is it's a safe spot, You know, nobody really suspects anything. I have the privacy screen for the back. So up front, it looks like an empty car. Car's just charging. I've never had an issue, anybody kicking me out for charging overnight. It's very discreet. You can blend in,
Yeah.
you know. Now with the solar hood that I have, people do come up and talk to me. Yeah, so it's really just a safe spot to sleep. You know, and there's a lot of free charging that's subsidized that might disappear. But for example, last year, a lot of people bought Teslas using my referral link, right? Like, it was like $500 to $1,000 per car delivered, which is insane because that's real money. You do pay tax on it. But I used that to charge my car at superchargers. I used it to fix my car. I had about $3,600 worth of stuff fixed last week, glass mostly, and some other cosmetic stuff. Cost me $0, like out of my own pocket.
Right.
You know, so it's like I can afford this lifestyle because I am in that space, in that community. Like it's a crazy, like weird thing that kind of works out in my favor, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so when you refer someone, you get $500 credit, like Tesla credit, right? It's not like
Tesla.
cash.
It's not like you can liquidate it and have cash in your bank.
Okay.
It's in that ecosystem,
Right.
but you do pay tax on it, like it's a real dollar, which is kind of weird. And they do expire, you know, after a year, after once you've claimed them, which is kind of weird. But that's how I'm able to kind of like cover most of my costs. Like if there's stuff that needs to be fixed, for example, my windshield was cracked, one of my Falcon doors, window was cracked, without getting insurance involved, I just used those dollars. And
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. So you had mentioned that you lived in the Netherlands. You've lived in the U.S. And what is the third continent you lived on?
South and Central America. So
You've lived there?
yeah.
Huge shout out to our sponsor, Heroes Hot Rods. Thank you, Austin, and everybody from Heroes Hot Rods for making this podcast possible. If you want to add a swivel seat to your Honda Element or your CRV, please be sure to check out the links down below. And without further ado, let's get back to the podcast with Sandro.
Like in Brazil and Panama.
Really?
Yeah.
Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so I lived in Panama from 2011 to 2013, so about 2.5 years. And then Brazil 2007, 2011. Yeah, that's yeah, because of my dad's job at the time, so we moved different places. That's how I speak Spanish. That's why I think for my Central America expedition in South America, that language, having that knowledge, it just really like, it's gonna give me an advantage, right? And yeah, I lived in those continents, and then I'm from the Netherlands. That's where I was originally born, and now I've been in the U.S. for about 10 years. So this year I actually have to renew my green card, so it's just actually not as difficult. It's just an online form that you fill out. But yeah, that officially marks 10 years.
Wow.
You know, because yeah.
Like, you said you learned Spanish. Like, what are some of the things that you learned by living in the U.S.? Like, what are some things you've taken away from that experience?
Oh, wow. That is a deep question. That's actually a really good question, not gonna lie. I think more towards myself. I think I have a deeper connection to this country. Like, I really care what's going on. Like politically, I feel more involved. Even though I can't vote, I still follow the news cycles and stuff. And I feel like I've discovered myself here. This is the first place that I've lived that's felt like a home, where I felt grounded. Even though I don't really have a home base. My mom lives on the East Coast, but I don't feel like there's a home there for me. But I feel very welcoming here in this country, if that makes sense. Yeah. It's a kind of a nomadic feeling that I have. Yeah, that's how I kind of would describe it, you know. If that answers your question.
It does, and I think there's something in like the Americans like ethos, whatever, about like someone who travels by car, because I just think deep down we have this like pioneer sort of like lineage where like we went from the East Coast to the West Coast and wiped out the native population, and you know, but there's that sense of like adventure and like exploration, which I think is kind of valued in like just American culture in general. Yeah. So I think when people see someone like you who's like doing something different and they're like, all right, I'm gonna go and explore the world by car, it's just something about that exploration I think is like embedded deep down.
That's a good point. I feel because I was in the Netherlands a few months ago. I did like a 2-month trip in a Model Y through Europe, and the car culture there, car camping, is big, but it's not as like you can't legally live out of a car. Like here, you technically can. There's ways around it, and it's not really frowned upon. You know, in my opinion, I think people are very welcoming. Maybe it is because the car drive. I don't know. But I felt more hostile in Europe.
Yeah.
Definitely some countries that just didn't have that vibe. And talking about like that exploration, I think that's I feel kind of the Americanness that I really see in myself. You know, like living my version of the American dream. It is possible to live the way I do here. It'd be very difficult to do that in Europe. I think just because I have done that reflection work where things are really possible to do them here.
Yeah.
You know, the pioneer thing, traveling, yeah.
Yeah, it's totally a thing here. Yeah.
And it's innate us. It's within us, like because for thousands of years we've always roamed. Maybe not at the pace that I'm doing now,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But we've always moved, you know, with seasonally, you know. So it's definitely
going with like the herd of whatever we're hunting.
it's a normal thing
Yeah.
to want to move and
Totally.
to explore.
Yeah. So, what's like the biggest challenge that you face when traveling with an electric vehicle? Like you went all the way to the Arctic, no spare tire, which is absolutely insane. But then there's like no charging stations. So like I imagine some of those would be challenges. So, but like what in your experience has been like the biggest challenge of traveling in the Model X?
That's a good question. So I've been to Alaska twice now, right? And there's 2 highways into Alaska. There's the Elcan, the Alaska Canadian, that was built during World War II, and then it's the Stuart Cassier. So last year, my first time when I went up to Alaska, I did the iconic Alaskan Highway, and there's only one dead zone where you have to hit a RV site to make it through. Like you can't just. There's no fast chargers along that spot. And then I would spend the night at RV sites through there, right? So I do plan ahead for those trips. And then the second year, which was this past summer in June, I went to Stuart Cassier, which last year had no fast chargers. So I wouldn't be able to make it at all, right? But then I did that this past year. And I actually didn't use the fast chargers, which was interesting because I just timed my speed, you know, I did some hypermiling, but I was able to get to the spot where I needed to be for the night, which is a level 2 charger, which is just overnight you plug in. It was like $14 to charge there, fully charged 100%, and then you just drive to Watson Lake, which is kind of the middle point to Alaska. Yeah, and then I ended up continuing up to the Arctic Ocean because I didn't get that the first year. I think the biggest hurdle that you have is when you go that remote is you need to make sure campgrounds are open, right? And that's legit pretty much it. As long as the campgrounds are open where there is no public chargers. And when I went up to the Arctic Ocean to Tuktoyaktuk, which is the furthest road you can take north in Canada that's public, it was like 1,000 miles of just rough road. We just go really slow, 35.
Oh, no, seriously? 1,000 miles on rough? 1,000
miles, yeah.
on rough road? Oh my god, dude.
But I have air suspension, so I didn't notice it as much, and I didn't
Wow.
air down. A lot of people do air down.
Yeah.
Biggest thing was dust. Like I still find dust in the car.
What the heck?
I ended up booking at a hotel at a gas station there, where there's like 5 people who work there full time. That's what I had to charge for 4 days, you know, because they had a grounding issue, so my car wouldn't allow me to charge. See, that got a little complicated, but I learned, and I was able to share that experience with my followers, and nobody had done that trip yet with an electric vehicle that was public. That apparently some guy claimed in 2019 that he went up there during the winter, but the hotel itself, who monitors everybody who goes through, everybody has to stop there. Even helicopters come to land. They said this guy never came here. So that's why, like, when I can claim that I vlogged it, that I made the trip. I put all the charging route in an app so people can look at it and do it themselves. During the winter time, I'm not sure if I could do it.
Yeah.
Because I barely made it. But there's a heat pump in the car, so it does actually do really well during the winter, right? There's not as much range loss with older electric vehicles. I don't know, but that's a limiting factor, right? Extreme temperatures where even gas cars, they need like heating blocks,
Right.
you know, at those temperatures.
Yeah.
So it's not like, oh, gas wins because, yeah, because your oil will freeze. It's that cold up there. But yeah, that's, I think, the limiting factor could be. And I don't know.
I'm struggling to like comprehend all of that because I mean you're so remote, 1,000 miles on dirt road, and then like the spare tire thing is just bonkers. I hope you're bringing a spare tire to South America.
Nope.
Wow.
So
Okay.
biggest takeaway I've learned from that trip was I didn't even have a jack, which I realized once I got up to the Arctic Ocean. Like, if I had a flat here, I would have been like really, really in a bad spot because there were 2 tow trucks that I saw that were carrying tourists back. They're sprinters, both were sprinters. It was 5,000 Canadian tow back to Whitehorse, which is the nearest biggest town.
Wow.
But I bought a jack. I bought like a ratchet, specifically for my lug nuts, so I can kind of like inflate them. I have a tire inflator, all that. Like I have a sealant. The reason why I don't carry a spare with me is I think I have really good tires. I drive slow, taking my chances because it's a lot of space, right? Because my wherever I have my clothes, which is underneath the like it's a sub trunk, there's no space for a spare. And for me, I don't want anything in the cabin to take valuable space, right? So I'll take my chances, just take it slow. And I have a package. I've done everything, and I'll just adapt if it does happen.
Wow, that's wild. I mean, I think South America is probably less remote than the Arctic, so I think you'd probably be fine to find like a shop or something along the way. But the Arctic with no spare.
Yeah.
I remember watching your video, and it's just you and your Model X, no spare tire, no jack, nothing, and then there's these like Jeeps with like extra gas and like 2 spare tires, like a crew of them, traveling together. And it's just you solo.
Yeah, and
That's
just
wild.
I had a Starlink too, so I was able to communicate. I kept in touch with people. I wasn't like I went off, but it was awesome because I really like the philosophy of taking less with you to do more. And I have nothing against those big rigs. I actually like love camping with those people.
Yeah.
It's not for me where I just carry a bunch of extra supplies that I don't necessarily need, and I mooch off other people.
Yeah, you're the extreme minimalist.
Yeah.
Okay, so have you ever ran into a situation where you're like, I might be in trouble here?
Yeah, but it's not actually with the car.
Mm.
It's been, well, actually no. There's 2 stories. I'll keep it. The first one was when I encountered a bear in the Yukon, a grizzly. I just met with some other overlanders, and I went back to the trailhead the day after to pick some raspberries, because it's off the road. There's not many tourists. A lot of raspberries. I was plucking berries, and it's not that far from the road, the trailhead, so a truck just braked really hard. I was like, okay, what does he want? It's like, hey brother, I just saw a bear cross the street right here in front of you. It's in the bushes, maybe 20 meters away from you, like maybe 30, 40 feet. I was like, fuck. Like, my first reaction. Like, I have bear spray with me, but I'm like on a incline like this, because that's where the best berries are, right? Nobody touches it. So I'm like panicking. I panicked. Ended up backpedaling a little bit, talking to the bear. Even though I can't see it, he probably has smelled me, and I have food, you know? So I was talking to it, like, hey, bear, like, I'm just here. I'm just going back to my car. Let me do my thing. So it's like a 3-4 minute walk back, but I'm walking backwards slowly, and I can't see the bear, but he said it was like really, really close. So I got back to my car, perfectly fine, and then I ended up driving on the road, and then I saw the bear, which was like a lot closer than he initially said it was.
Oh my gosh, dude.
But I guess the bear just had probably sensed me already. I've talked to a lot of Alaskan natives or up there that live with these animals year round, so they've like told me a little bit of things about what to look out for, understand bear behavior, etiquettes. So that's one situation like, man, I could be in trouble here, because I do a lot of solo stuff, right?
Yeah.
And then the second time was last week in Lake Tahoe when I did a 180 on the highway. I thought I totaled my car. The airbags didn't deploy at the time. And then I stepped out and there was no damage whatsoever. I took the car apart, nothing that I noticed. So yeah, those were only, I think, 2 times where I'm like, shit, that could have been really, really bad.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that time in Tahoe? Like what
Yeah.
happened exactly? How'd you spin out?
I was on the highway, just did a 180, and it was it was a significant snowstorm, as borderline blizzard conditions, but the roads were still open and they were plowing it. All trucks had chains, so I was like, okay, I feel good. I have 3 peak tires, Falcon all terrains. So I took it slow, and then out of nowhere, dude.
You have too much faith in these tires, bro. You got too much faith, man. It's like
Well, it's yes and no, because that's the best I could do, prepare,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, that just 180, and it felt like I closed my eyes and I was already like landed, like I landed in the bank. So it was so quick. Yeah, and no damage. It was that's what I'm really grateful for. That I wasn't hurt. That the semi didn't hit me. That I was able to get off and just keep on going to Napa. That's where I was initially going. But that just shows how fragile you are when you're on the road. Because I've been in a hit and run before, and that was a whole thing as well. You know, just dealing with that. So there are a lot of pros to living on the road, but you're a lot more vulnerable, no matter what vehicle you have. Whether you're riding a bike. If I didn't buy this car, I'd probably be riding my bike everywhere. As much as
I know Teslas are like the safest cars that you can buy,
Yeah.
basically. And you know, I live in the Honda Element, so I do feel that it's like an older car. It's not as like advanced as far as like safety tech is concerned, you know. So yeah, I definitely have that thought. We're like, maybe if I get a Tesla, I'll feel a little bit less vulnerable. But who knows? So I know, I know you. We've been friends for a long time. And I know that one of the things you're passionate about is like sustainability, and that's part of the reason why you do all this travel in your Tesla Model X. You don't have to use fossil fuels and all of that stuff, you know? So, what are some tips that you have for people who want to explore but want to be sustainable at the same time? Like, what are some ways that they can do that?
That's a good question. And just to be officially on the record, when I went to the Arctic Ocean, those towns are completely powered by fossil fuels, right? It's the only really reliant energy source they have because they're so far off grid. I mean, they have solar, they have wind, but it's mostly diesel. So my car was charged by diesel, but it's still more efficient, cleaner driving than driving a gas car. I don't have anything against fossil fuels because they make life possible. You know, like my car got delivered by a gas truck. But I think there is a turning point where we have to think about the future and like sustainability and yeah. So if people, I think the biggest thing when it comes to sustainability is not necessarily how much you drive, but it's more about how you consume things, if that makes sense. Like what you eat, your dietary choices have a big impact on the environment, right? The stuff you buy or stuff you tend to throw away, those all have a huge footprint as well. They hold a lot of weight. And in the car, yeah, it's part of it. But those aspects are a lot more, have a bigger environmental impact than I think driving from just looking at data and stuff. Yeah. But I want to be as clean as possible, right? The fact that I can sit in my car and idle all night without any emissions, you know, I avoid cities because you do notice the difference in air quality, right? You don't let your kid play in a garage with your car on, you know, but why are we doing that to our earth, essentially? You know, doesn't that make sense?
It does make sense.
Yeah, it's crazy to think about it because it's poison, right? And then I also blame the car manufacturers not wanting to adapt and go look for the future and try to protect what we already have, if that makes sense.
You know, it's interesting because like maybe 3 years ago, like I felt like there's a big push towards electric cars and everyone's going electric. And now I think things are flipping a little bit back to maybe hybrid or just back to gas. Like I just saw an article the other day where Porsche is like, no one's buying our electric cars. We're going back to gas.
Well, they haven't made a good product that is appealing or better than what they already have. So that's on them.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, they have some really cool like electric, they're hybrid electric, like it's a Porsche Cayenne turbo.
Yeah.
I've driven one. It's freaking awesome. Like it's so fast because you have the electric and the gas combined. But yeah, I think there's people who are just like super on board with electric, and there's people who are just like super on board with gas. And it's so interesting that it's like so politicized,
Yeah,
right?
it's very politicized.
I know, because I could tell just by the way you're talking about it. It's like, all right, listen, the gas people. You know, it's like, hey, I understand that
Yeah.
because I'm sure you've got a ton of comments.
Yeah, comment people on the road, but I think people are more curious than anything else.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is that there's a lot of countries that actually have made that switch already. Like Norway, like over 50% of cars sold per year are electric. Over 70% of that are Teslas. You know, and it's one of the coldest countries in the world, so that's a good example of like they can do really well in the cold.
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
not to cut you off, but like, you know, people in Norway, I imagine, aren't going that far.
It's a huge country.
I know that, but they're not like United States. Like, hey, I'm going from California to New York.
Well, that's where you hit the superchargers.
Right.
Yeah.
We've got a great charging network here.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Yeah. I'm not.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I'm not downsizing what Tesla has done, because what Tesla has done is freaking awesome. Like the whole ecosystem and how it works, it's outstanding, and I think it's a good push. But it's easier in a smaller country compared to the United States to just be like, hey, I'm gonna go to electric.
Yeah.
You know.
No, for sure. But I think the adjustments have to come slowly.
Yeah,
Like you can't just switch overnight, because that will just I couldn't eat my avocados that I buy from Mexico, because it'd be too expensive for them to transport it up here. So there's gradual changes, and but I think the time to act is like now. What we have available, and with government incentives, really does help make that transition. But also like, yeah, I think we all have to do our part. Yeah, and not get too carried away as well. There's a balance there, because you can get really, really like self-critical over it, and that's not what we want either. It's just a slow transition, and that's why in some ways I feel like a pioneer, because nobody had done what I've done.
Yeah.
Right. I've been to
Yeah.
every state now
Totally.
except for Hawaii, been to Alaska, Arctic, but that wasn't really initially really what I really wanted to do was to prove. No, it's just like that's where I was curious about going. You know, trying to see what it's like, and then share that through a story on my YouTube channel, and yeah, hopefully inspire people to kind of see like cross country is easy. When you get out there, it's a little bit remote. And I'll tell you a very funny story that I was charging one time at a fast charger in the Yukon, and there was a truck that came by. It's like, hey, where's the nearest gas station? I thought he was joking, because I get that sometimes. He's like, no, actually, like, I'm really low. It's like, oh, it's like 10 kilometers down the road. How did I know? Because I planned out my trip very, very meticulously. You know, had plan Bs, plans As, whatever. But I also knew where the gas stations were, or mostly, because not all of them are open too. They have like seasonal fluxes, and some of them go out of business because gas is cheaper down the street. So you can't always rely on what's already there, if that makes sense. You just have to plan, you know, when it comes to driving up that far north. And it's like, if you ever get the chance, do it. It's so beautiful. You get to experience the northern lights. If you go a little bit in the fall or in the spring, you get to experience like 24-hour daylight. What that's like. There's so many experiences that I could tell you about, but it's very different unless you just go and do it yourself, because your experience is going to be different from mine.
Yeah.
You know?
Like I love it so much. Like, and I think sometimes, like, you know, maybe I'll get a Sprinter. Maybe I bought a Ford Transit, and I bought it, and I was like, man, it's just so big, and the Element is just like the perfect size for a solo traveler.
Yeah.
You know, but then I talk to you, and I hear like the free charging and like the super safe vehicle and the self-driving. Oh my God, I can't imagine how nice.
Oh, I wanted to show you after. I'll more than happy to drive you around.
Yeah. But on that note, the weather's clear, so I think what we'll do is we'll do a tour of your car, which is really exciting, because then people can see, like, 'cause I know you do it very, 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 very minimally.
Yeah.
So that'll be exciting to see. So make sure you guys check out that video. I'll leave the link down below in the description for that. Yeah. If you could take a road trip with anybody, dead or alive, who would you take on this road trip with you? Besides me, of course.
That is a good one. I don't really idolize people, like even if they're celebrities. they're just people to me. I don't like when people idolize me. Like, I already have that now, and it's like, don't treat me differently. But one person, probably Barack Obama.
Barack. Whoa.
Yeah.
Why Barack Obama?
Well, it's just his whole demeanor. He was a great president, you know, and
You're a true American.
yeah, and I think it was the first black president.
Yeah.
You know, I think that was a huge turning point in history, and yeah, seems like a all right guy from from what I've seen online.
He's very charismatic.
Yeah, that's
Like,
the word. Like, if he enters the room, everybody shuts up. You know.
I like. Yeah, I remember like he seemed very presidential, like, and cracking jokes with anybody and everybody, and there's like all these memes of him like dabbing up dudes.
Yeah.
You know?
Dropping the microphone.
Oh man.
But it's the way he speaks to people too. He's very well spoken.
Yeah,
You know,
totally.
doesn't say much either.
Ah,
He doesn't.
that's
say,
nice.
Yeah.
That's
He
nice.
thinks before he speaks.
That's an interesting
Yeah.
answer. I like it.
What about you?
Would I take a road trip with?
Yeah.
Oh, my girlfriend. Come on. I mean, like, she's the best road trip partner. Like, she's always like feeding me snacks and stuff.
Yeah.
If you do find the right person, it doesn't feel like they're in your way at all.
No.
That's a good dynamic, which I had with my ex.
Yeah.
You know, so.
And I think she grew up going on road trips with her dad and like sleeping in the car actually, you know? So there's a lot of like I probably like nostalgia for her,
Yeah.
and she's like very outdoorsy. So she makes it very easy, very comfortable, super fun.
Nice.
That's the one thing where I'm like, maybe I want a bigger rig, because when it's me and her, no problem. But then when it's me, her, and the dog, then the element gets a little tight. It works.
Yeah.
It totally works. And there's this really cool like back tent for the element where she can sleep, which is perfect. Maybe if I had an e-camper, then it would be the perfect vehicle. But I think, yeah, sometimes with us two and the dog, it's a little tricky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So that's who I take, hands down.
Well, you can always like change. You could sell one of your elements.
See, I'm just thinking about my friends now, because I'd probably go with Miguel from Element Lifestyle. You know,
Which
like
I've met. He's a
he's
great dude.
super super cool dude, like going on hiking adventures and stuff, and
You're a mechanic too.
he's a mechanic. So yeah, it's hard to say. I just go with my friends. I'd go with you.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I take Rosa. That'd be fun.
yeah, dude.
So yeah, I think all I think about is like my friends, because that's who I'd want to spend time with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, I do 95% of it solo,
Yeah.
but I meet up a lot of people along the way, and we hang out for a few weeks. So I do meet a lot of people. You know, it's kind of an icebreaker living in a Tesla. A lot of people are very curious, especially when I'm cooking.
Yeah.
So I've met a lot of cool people like that. Because the road life is better when it's shared. You know,
Put that on a poster and sell it, dude. Like,
yeah, no, I think it is. As much as I like to spend time by myself and just do what I want to do. Like for my Central America trip, there were people that were reached out and they want to do part of it together. It's like, great. KU, like, how flexible are you? It's like, I'm really not. So it's like,
yeah.
you know, you need a specific person. That's why you just meet them on the road without even trying.
Yeah.
You know.
So what happens when you meet a senorita in Mexico? Are you just gonna stay there and
No.
start a family, or what?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think, going back to one biggest caveat driving EV is when you get into Mexico, there's fast chargers, all that. But I can't sometimes go at the speed that they're driving, right? When I caravan, because I do caravan, you know, with people. Sometimes I'm faster than them. Sometimes they're faster than me, if that makes sense. It's just because sometimes it doesn't really sync up.
Ah. Yeah.
So that's one thing. Like if you're, because I can't just go to gas. I could go to gas station they're going, but they might not have a charger there.
I see.
You know, but for people I've caravan with, that's never been an issue because you just kind of plan. Because they're gonna hit certain gas stations. Okay, I have to hit certain chargers. You know, you're on the radio, you just communicate stuff like that. So it's like hanging out with a horse and then you're like a cyclist. That makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense.
Yeah.
'Cause then a horse might have to stop to eat, but a cyclist can.
Yeah. But he might not be able to go at the speed that you are.
Right. Or there's like mountain terrain.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to dive more into your love life, bro. So like, yeah, how does that work on the road? Like, I mean, do you meet people like are you like on, do you like park in the city like on dating apps, like, or
That's a good question.
You go into the bars like, hey, what's up, girl? Want to come back to my Tesla? Like,
I actually don't try to use the car because it's
Yeah.
superficial.
Sure.
As cool as it is, it's usually like later in the date that I tell kind of what I do, and I'd like to be upfront with people. I did some dating apps like Hinge, which is great because they have like cute little like prompts you can put on your profile so you can match with kind of similar humor and stuff. It was hard to sometimes meet girls that way because they would meet up and then I'll kind of talk about what I do. It's like, oh, I'm looking for a husband. You know, it's like, well, that's not me. I'm far from that. I tend to like leave.
Yeah.
But dog parks, that's how I met my ex-girlfriend. She just came to talk to me. She saw my setup. And dog parks, the reason why, because people tend to be very friendly there.
you don't even have a dog.
No, that's why. But that's exactly. But it's a great atmosphere. Like a bar is not really my place.
Sure.
You know, I don't drink, so I don't smoke. So it's like, why am I there to spend $30 on a mocktail? You know.
Right.
But like a park or a hike or I actually deleted the dating apps because I wanted to be a little bit more organic, and I'm not trying to force anything. And I meet so many cool people already on the road, so kind of that fills that loneliness.
Yeah.
But I'm open to meet people, not just girls.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just more organic. I just stop forcing it and chasing, and it's like, because it's your time and energy, and like, yeah, I tend to not be in a space for long enough, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I just got out of a relationship, so it's like, I don't want to do all that again for now. I'm very protective of my energy and my bubble, you know, so.
Yeah.
I'm just curious. I'm sure people are also curious too, because it's like, what do you do? You know, but yeah, it's you're nomadic. You're traveling. You're just passing through.
Pretty much.
So
Yeah.
if you're looking for a good time for a night, oh man,
Charging not included.
hopefully you get a hotel.
No,
you
yeah.
know.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we're kind of. I don't have an exact answer for that. It just comes when it comes, and yeah.
Do you have any questions for me?
Questions for you. So you've been on the road for 6 years.
That's
Yeah, I mean, it's like
7 years.
yeah, I think I've been like on the road, but then I haven't traveled a lot. Like I've taken small portions of travel. But go ahead with your question. Sorry.
No, I didn't get that right. It kind of ebbs and flows.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
What is one thing that you cannot live without? Like if you have to pick one accessory, one something that's so valuable to you that you would chase someone down if they took it from you.
Besides the car, obviously, the car is like what makes it all possible. There's two things that come to mind in like my setup. The first thing is the cabinet that I have.
Mm-hmm.
It's just been such a game changer. It's like I've got this cabinet that goes right here, and I could just put all of my clothes in it, all of my stuff, so I can keep the rest of the space organized.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a cabinet, and then I also have these Goal Yeti Goal Zero Yeti lights, or whatever they're called.
Yeah.
They're freaking awesome. They're like little lanterns. I stole the idea from Element Lifestyle Miguel. It just makes the space super nice, like just to have a light. It's so simple, but yeah, just like a little light. So those are awesome. I freaking love those things.
From REI or Amazon?
Yeah, REI, Amazon, Walmart, wherever they have them, but they're great. They're trainable. I don't know, it just makes it homey, makes it cozy, and of course the Hero's hot rod swivel seat. Like, come on, I mean, it makes it like it opens up the space, so it becomes more of just like a small like little sanctuary to hang out in. So
how does podcast is possible?
exactly.
If I was facing that way, it'd be really awkward.
Yeah. Or we've done that once. The first time we were both sitting forward, you know.
Yeah.
So
That was Laguna Beach, right?
that was Laguna Beach. Yeah. So that's how we evolved. Same question to you. What's the one thing you can't live without?
My collapsible wash bin. It serves as a trash bucket. I've washed my clothes with it. Again, less plastic, because whatever trash I make, it's like in that bucket. I can collapse it all the way flat so I can store it if I don't use it. I've never used it for pooping or peeing, no. No, people have asked me that.
Yeah.
It's mostly just for waste. I use it as a table sometimes near a fire because it's so high. It like sits up here, so I could put my food on it. And then I wash my clothes with it, and I'll do that. I'll definitely do that in Central America, where I just find a river or something and just wash my stuff. And yeah, I've really slowed down my day. Like I tend to rush things in my own head. It's like I need to be here. But I was like, no, I don't. Like, you know. So washing your clothes, doing your dishes, like it really puts you in the moment.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. It does.
So it's a collapsible washman.
Crazy, bro.
$15.
Well, this has been awesome. Any final questions, thoughts, things you want to share?
No. I'm just grateful that you want to have me on. It's like my second to last day. I'm in the United States for quite some time. And yeah, the car is ready, pretty much. I only have to fix a trim piece. I'll probably do tomorrow. And that's it.
Well, I'm excited to see your adventures. If you guys want to follow along, follow Sandro at Everyday Sandro on YouTube. I'll leave the links and everything, of course, down below in the description. And then we're going to film a tour right now. So we're going to check out his setup, how he lives out of his Tesla Model X. So make sure you guys watch that video after this. If you want to support this channel, please check out our channel memberships. That's a good way to help support this channel and this podcast if you enjoy this type of content. And it also helps me make it a sustainable career as a YouTube, because as you know, it's a difficult thing to do, but with your support, it's no problem at all.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. Make sure to like, make sure to subscribe. Thank you, Sandro, bro. Appreciate you, bro.
Cheers, dude.
I'm so excited for your adventures. And let's check out your Tesla.
Yes.
All right. Peace, y'all.
Cheers.